Do you guys think Billy Epler has slept at all since the beginning of the winter meetings? This guy is on fire. The New York Mets have signed Kodai Senga to a 5-year, $75 million contract. It is an absolute steal. The Mets may now have the best rotation of baseball. We will discuss all of it on this edition of Locked On Mets.
You are Locked On Mets, your daily New York Mets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello to all you amazing Mets fans. You're watching Locked On Mets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. I'm your host, Ryan Finkelstein. If you want to find any of my work, follow me on Twitter at FinkelsteinRyan. You can also find some of my writing at justbaseball.com, where I work as the managing editor. Now, the Mets aren't really letting me have a weekend here. It is crazy how Billy Epler just makes signing after signing. Steve Cohen shelling out so much cash here. The Mets, they go out, they sign Justin Verlander after DeGrom leaves. They followed up with Jose Quintana. Rotation looks pretty good, right? All right, you're feeling good about yourself. You make a trade for Brooks Raley. You go ahead and you sign Brandon Nimmo to an 8-year deal. You sign David Robertson same day, pretty much within minutes of each other. You're bringing Robertson to be the 8th inning guy to Edwin Diaz. Now, Kodai Senga comes into the fold here. What an unbelievable revelation. And the contract, an absolute steal. 5 years, $75 million. Taijuan Walker, look, did a great job at the Mets for 2 years. But we know the ceiling of Taijuan Walker, and we know the floor. And yeah, sure, the ceiling you've seen in the first half. But ultimately, I think Taijuan Walker is going to continue to be, at absolute best, a 3 and more likely a 4 or 5. Okay? Kodai Senga has the potential to be a frontline starter. Will he reach that potential? We'll never know. I mean, look, the numbers in the NPB are unbelievable, right? 2.59 career ERA. This past season, it was 1.94 over 144 innings pitched, 156 strikeouts. The whip was low for his career. His whip is at 1.096 this year, 1.056. Strikeout per 9 for his career at 10. This year, it was at 9.8. You are looking at a pitcher that can hit 100. We don't know where he'll live yet, but he could top out in triple digits with this nasty, what do they call it? The ghost change, the ghost split. I mean, that splitter is insane. Just drops off the table. So you have 2 really good pitches. Question is, what else will he do to round out that repertoire? How do the Mets, help him adjust to big league hitters? But this is the guy that the Mets have had their eyes on every single time they've made a signing. It has been, they're still on Kodai Senga. When they signed Quintana, still in on Senga. Or really, probably when Verlander signed first, still in on Senga. Then Quintana signed, still in on Senga. You sign Nimmo. Is there any more money left? Still in on Senga. They clearly wanted this guy, and the fact that he signs this contract, $15 million per, that tells me he wanted to be a Met too. Because I gotta imagine when he was essentially the second best starter on the market at this point, behind only Chris Bassett, you would think that there was more money that he could have made on the table. That even if it wasn't 5 years, which I think there was other teams that were probably on him for 5 years, you got to think that there was at least an offer at this level, if not better. And he chose to pitch for the Mets. The Mets checked every box that he said he wanted. Play for a contender, to go to a big market, to find a team that's into analytics. The Mets are certainly making strides in that department. Billy Epler is the guy that signed Shohei Ohtani. He now brings in Kodai Senga. You also have to wonder, having Senga now as really the long-term building block in your rotation, got to wonder if he could be joined by Shohei Ohtani in a year either. I have said before, I don't know if I said on the show, I definitely mentioned on Twitter, I do think that there's something to be said about Billy Epler's connection with Shohei Ohtani. Not that I think that this definitely means he's coming, but if Shohei Ohtani does reach free agency, I think the Mets are going to have a really good shot at it, especially with his relationship with Epler and Cohen's pocketbook. But you cannot be mad at this signing. This is arguably their best signing of the offseason. And it's been a great offseason. But if you're telling me cost and player that you acquired, I think we can nitpick all the other deals more. This is a steal of a contract. I want to discuss that a little bit more, how Senga's going to slide into the rotation now. And if this Mets rotation is, right up there as being the best in baseball, because I think it's certainly getting there. And obviously it's complete now. I think it's just a matter of the X factor, which is Senga, not quite knowing what he is. But if he lives up to the high ceiling, it'll be the best rotation in baseball. Also, you would need Scherzer and Verlander to be healthy at their age. But if all those things happen, we could be in store for a magical Mets season. Before we get to that, though, today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline.net is your number one source for sports betting info, stats, news, and analysis. Get the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there, from football to basketball to soccer and esports. They've got it all at BetOnline.net. If you love sports podcasts, you can find those at BetOnline as well. BetOnline, always the fastest and easiest way to get your betting fix. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in the action. BetOnline, where the game starts. So, to me, there's no question. This is the Mets' best signing this offseason. You could say, wow, they got Verlander, they got Nimmo. How is this the best one? Well, Verlander comes with a $43 million per season price tag. Nimmo, it's an 8-year deal for a guy that, to be fair, has had some injury issues. There's some question marks in both of those deals. Jose Quintana, I thought that was a great addition, but there was a pretty good period in recent history where Quintana was not who he was this year, which is a great starting pitcher for the Pirates and then eventually the Cardinals. The trades have been good, getting Burks Raley, but nothing can compare to signing a Kodai Senga to a $75 million contract over 5 years. At $15 million per for a starting pitcher, all he has to do to meet that contract is to take the ball and to go out and basically just be an average starter. I mean, an average starting pitcher now is getting $15 million at least. You see what Taijuan Walker gets, $18 million per. Jamison Tyone, I don't remember the exact breakdown of that, but it was $4 million less than Taijuan. Do the math on that, Ryan. Over 4 years, should be $17 million, right? Yeah, $17 million per. So both of those guys get more money than Senga, and I think everyone would say coming into this offseason that Senga was the better or the best starting pitcher when it comes to his upside outside of the big three aces, Rodon, Verlander, DeGrom, and then maybe Bassett. And the Mets get him cheaper than some of these other guys signed for on the market. You replace Chris Bassett with Kodai Senga, essentially, is what the Mets did tonight. And I think that was a really wise bet because what they also did is you couple it with Quintana. You couple it with bringing back Carlos Carrasco. And what those guys bring that I like is they're going to take the ball and you can trust them being healthy and just know that they can eat the innings and kind of fill that aspect of what Bassett brought to the table. But when it comes to your upside, when it comes to your playoff rotation, well, now I know that I got Verlander, Scherzer, and Senga as a three-headed monster, you hope, that can really take you to the promised land. And this guy, again, you're talking about a fastball that can hit 100, a splitter that's devastating. He's got a slider that can also be a cutter. I just saw Aram Layton for Just Baseball. He sent me over a little link of some video here on Senga. It's devastating. Check it out for sure. I'll make sure to retweet it at Finkelstein Ryan so you can see that. But it's a huge addition to bring this guy in. It is a sign of the Mets being a destination. This guy wants to win. He has chosen the Mets as the team he plans to win with. And you also have to wonder if the Mets now go to a 6-man rotation. I mean, we've seen other teams in baseball do that. This is what I believe they do out in Japan. So it would make a lot of sense for this Mets team with two guys in Verlander and Scherzer who are at the end of their careers. You have Carrasco, similar boat. It would make a lot of sense with Senga as well. Keep all these guys fresh. You could roll out a 6-man rotation come opening day of Verlander, Scherzer, Senga, Quintana, Peterson, Carrasco if you wanted to. I just put Peterson ahead of Carrasco because, hey, I like David Peterson a lot. Now the Mets also have the flexibility if they want to stick with the 5-man rotation, they can go out and they can flip Carlos Carrasco to another team. And trust me, there's a lot of teams that would take 1 year, $14 million on Carrasco right now. They would. And that would clear some luxury tax money off your books. And actually, hold on. Let's just back that up for a second. Carlos Carrasco at $14 million this season. Kodai Senga at $15. The upside's not even close. So that just shows you the type of steal this contract is. We'll see. You never really know. I can't say for certain this guy's going to be amazing, but man, does it look good right now. I mean, this team's basically complete. Like, you could put a bow on it if you really wanted to. I know that there's still the fans are screaming about bats, screaming about bullpen, and hey, the Mets can still make moves. I'm not saying they're going to be done because, look, they're averaging like a signing a day at this point. But let's just go through the entire team right now. I just did the rotation. It's set. No chance they need to add another starter. You're good. You're completely good. The floor is great. Your depth's great. The ceiling's high. Everything you could want out of the rotation. They've done an incredible job building that back up. You lose 3 pitchers: Chris Bassett, Taijuan Walker, Jacob deGrom, Justin Verlander for deGrom. As much as deGrom is higher on talent level, Verlander is a better bet to be healthy next season. I call that essentially a wash, right? I'm not going to give Verlander a huge edge, say they improved, although when you're looking at the comparison from 2022 to 2023, they do improve in nature simply because we expect Verlander to make more than 11 starts this year. But you move on from that. Senga to Bassett, Bassett to Senga, excuse me. I think the Mets improve here. I think that Bassett's a much higher floor, but Senga's the guy I want pitching in the playoffs. You go from Taijuan Walker to Quintana now, I guess. I like Quintana on a 2-year deal a lot more than Taijuan on a 4-year deal where he's getting $18 million per. You bring back Carrasco, you got Peterson, you got McGill, you got Lucchesi. The depth is there for the rotation. The bullpen. Still more needs to be done, but you have a legitimate 8th inning guy that could close games for you if you wanted to. So you can split that role a little bit so Edwin Diaz doesn't have to be the only guy closing. That was a massive addition. You got Brooks Raley to be that left-handed reliever you've been craving. The Mets could still probably get one more in that pen, but they have done such a good job signing guys to minor league deals, claiming a guy in the Rule 5. I mean, they've just built out some depth, making the trade with the Marlins. I like a Jake Mangum. You got 2 more pitchers for depth. There's just not a lot here. And then you bring back Nimmo, so the lineup is the same lineup from last year, and I know people want more, and they're upset about this lineup. 5th most runs in baseball last year. And that's without Francisco Alvarez or Brett Beatty playing a big role. This team is improved. Much improved, in my opinion, based on the internal growth, the upside of Senga and Verlander, as opposed to what you had in Bassett deGrom. I think it's clear that that's a better 1-2 to pair with Scherzer at this stage, especially on those respective contracts. I like 5 for Senga at $15 million, a lot more than 5 for deGrom at $37 million when it comes to long-term deals. And then for Verlander to come in to be that ace for you. Look, this team has really done a remarkable job, and we just have to see, what else Epler and company decides to do. If they want to do something for the offense, maybe you're trying to build out a DH situation that's a little bit more favorable than what you got now. But man, this roster looks loaded now. I mean, this Senga addition is the type of piece when it's both. It's Nimmo and Senga just erased any doubt I have that this Mets team is going to come back as good as it was last year. They're going to be as good as last year. And if you're as good as last year and you're a 101 win team, you can win a division, you can enter the playoffs. And if you're a little bit healthier than you were this year, if you don't have a Sterling Marte injury at the end, if you have a rotation that's firing on all cylinders instead of Scherzer, who seemed to be a little bit off, and Bassett was a little bit off by the end, and DeGrom actually faltered down the stretch of the season. He was great in the playoffs, but there was some struggles before then that, cost the Mets the division in some ways. You got a great shot at it. So that's going to be all for this bonus edition, which is becoming a daily occurrence of Locked On Mets here. As always, thank you for listening. Make sure you follow, rate, and review wherever you get your podcast. Make sure you follow me on Twitter at Finkelstein Ryan. Follow the show at Locked On Mets. Thank you for making Locked On Mets your first listen every day. After your second listen, check out Locked On Sports Today, hosted by Peter Bukowski. Locked On Sports Today is where you want to go and stay up to date with everything going on around sports, with instant game reactions, breaking news, the take of the day. You can follow Locked On Sports Today on the Odyssey app, YouTube, or wherever you get podcasts.